I am pleased to see so many of you joining today. Thanks for coming. We tried 2 different times and it looks like during the week, late in the day, worked a lot better for folks. So I'm glad. Thanks. Well, how can we help you? I'm going to first ask a question to kind of get things started. If you could share with us, and Steve's on the line too, and Kelly, what worked for you at Pets and what didn't. And then I'll be happy to take your individual questions and any concerns or anything that you'd like to share with us, because we will then pass it on to the Pets Committee for next year. So. Did Pets work for all of you? Was it a good session?
Maybe you should ask Julie.
I was just going to say, I thought it was really useful for me. So I found it actually pretty helpful. And I did love the all of the keynote speakers that we had. They were all wonderful.
Good. How about the facilitated sessions? How were those for you, Vicki?
I really enjoyed the one that we were in. We had, and now I'm sorry, I don't remember everybody's name. I could find it in my notes, but we had a really nice group of people because it was small clubs, you know. And so we had a lot of input from everybody in the group. And I just felt that the 2 facilitators did a really nice job. It was really informative. They kept us moving around so we didn't just sort of sit there and stagnate. So and the information was in chunks, so that was helpful. Yeah.
Good. Cedar, what about you? How was it for you?
I thought it was really great, all of it. And I also had a feeling of overwhelm leaving.
Here.
Just like I felt like a lot of people were a lot more ahead of the game than I am currently. And so I was like, am I in the wrong space? Should I have already had so much done? And then also just trying to figure out how to balance like working and doing all of those things. Which it feels like a lot of us are working that are president-elects. So I know we're all trying to balance that. We just all have a lot going on. So trying to figure out the best way to be myself, implement changes that I feel like I can do, and balance everything.
Yeah. That sounds familiar. And I'm not going to dismiss it because I know I was working when I was in your shoes and being a mother and all that. And it is, you learn a lot about time management this year. Cynthia, what about you?
Well, I enjoyed every part of Pets. I really felt like I learned a lot that I didn't know, and it was a good refresher for things I did know years ago when I first started. And I'm really looking forward to working with Vicki as much as I can too. So when my term comes after hers, that everything will be in place. And I know Vicki's already got some great ideas. We had a little meeting and after Pets for ourselves, and I you know, it was nice to have that guideline, the 15 things to do, and kind of how to start. so it was very informative, I thought.
Yeah, good. Whoops, there we are. Okay, I've got somebody trying to reach me on another line, so I'm sorry if this fades in and out. Kind of funny. Who else? Jack, what about you? What did you think?
It was very informative. I did feel overwhelmed by the amount of information that was presented. One of the recommendations that was made, of which I just stumbled on again, is to get myself a different email address for all my Rotary stuff. Because when I tried to sign on to the Learn module, they were looking for a different email address. They didn't like my existing Rotary address. So that's something I need to take care of. As you can tell by saying that, I tried to sign on to that. I feel like I'm behind the power curve already, but I do have some time to catch up because I am retired, sort of. I'm a clergyman of 54 years, 55 years, so you never really retire. So I've always have stuff on my plate, but I'm looking forward to it. And just had a interesting afternoon after our Rotary meeting. We went and sorted out our ducks for the duck race. And I
Oh,
brought him
good.
a bin of ducks to go through and make sure that all the numbers that are in that bin are the right numbers.
So you're getting all your ducks in order, literally.
Trying to.
Wonderful.
So
Jack,
that's-
I will look up on Rotary's reports and let you know. I'll email you what email address they have on file for you. So that way that you can, what you can do is you can put that email address in a I forgot my password deal, and then they can connect with you through that email.
Great. That'd be helpful. Yeah.
Okay.
Kelly, I was just looking it up and it's the, Jack, it's your iCloud.com email address is the one that I think they're looking for. So, you remember that one?
Well, my iCloud address, baptizosum@icloud.com. Yeah.
Right. I think that's the one they're looking for.
Well, that's what I put in, but it
Oh, I didn't like that, huh?
yeah, it didn't like
Okay.
that. So
So they
All
have.
right, well, Kelly,
Right?
I'll try it again, but not right now.
oh, well, Kelly, you might need to help with that one then. So I just looked him up on the, in the directory.
Okay.
Okay, well, what specific questions do you have for us today? How can we help you?
I do have a question, because I was a little bit confused on the club visit schedule, and I just wanted some clarification. So I noticed that for 2024, that there'll be a club visit at the three Casper well three of the Rotary clubs, like the Young Professionals and Five Trails, and then the original club, and those are all kind of lumped together in July. But Casper Reveille is over in on July 3rd. We're on a different page, and I just wanted to make sure that July 3rd is the correct date for the visit, just to make sure that we're, prepared.
It
Because
is.
it is. Okay,
It
so
is, and
July
the
3rd.
reason being is that we've got our district governor elected nominee who make the club visits.
Uh-huh.
And so this year we had to get a matrix system going so that the same club wasn't always visited by the district governor, that at least the district governor got to each club and it wasn't circulating properly.
Okay.
And so we're getting that on track, and that's why Alvin Shaw is visiting one of the Casper clubs, and
Okay.
Julie or Karen, I don't have it up, is visiting the other ones. And so
Okay, yeah.
it's
Okay.
just a whole matrix system trying to get things moving the right way. So at least you get to be visited by the district governor every third
Okay.
year.
Okay.
And it's not the same clubs that get the district governor and
Mhm.
district governor elect, that kind of thing. So yeah, it is correct.
Okay, so this coming July 3rd. All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Unfortunately, that's your first official meeting, so.
Yeah, well, it'll be all right.
Throw you in there, right?
Yeah. I have lots of people to help me, so it'll be okay.
Awesome.
And Alban visits us all the time, so it's not, it'll be all right.
Right, right. Cool.
Well, it isn't like we ask any hard questions or anything. We try and keep it very easygoing, social, really try and keep it open, a lot of conversation with your club members. So it should be one of your easier meetings, actually. So other questions?
Julie, I have a question around how best to talk about all of the giving channels for Rotary and all the ones that we are encouraged, especially like in our goals, to be pushing out there, because honestly, I still didn't even know about some of those until this district conference. Like, I feel like I'm familiar, but there's so many different aspects, and it's not only does Rotary want you to give to the Rotary International Foundation, but then there's also Polio Plus. And then there's also like some of us have our own foundations locally. And I think I'm missing another one that Rotary really wants us to give to as well. So see, I can't even remember all of them.
Orthodox.
But I'm trying to figure out just the best way to talk about that within our club to get people to understand. I think the only people, honestly, who have a really good grasp on that are people in my club that have been club members for quite a long time and give to all the different channels. And we have a lot of newer members, and I'm just, how best do we explain that, and how often should we be talking about that?
Well, I'm going to give you what I did in my club, and then others, please pipe up. And Steve, I want you to comment on this as well. I did it, I kind of broke things up. And so one month I would talk about every Rotarian every year. And another time I would talk about major gifts. Another time I would talk about Paul Harris Fellows and the Paul Harris Society. I would break them up so that they're not all knitted together and difficult to understand and difficult to keep separate. So I broke them up once a month. November is Foundation Giving Month. And so you can do that one however you would like, especially if you've got a foundation chair, and you could have them talk about specific aspects of giving in Rotary. But I kind of broke it up, and I did it in small chunks, and I went online to my Rotary or Rotary International, and picked out bits of information that I could then share as a president. And I just kept it in a small, like I said, a small chunk. And then the next month I did something else. And once I got to all of them, I started over again. So people were hearing it a couple of times over the course of the year. I didn't try and present it all at once, because even I get confused about all of them sometimes. And when you start to see your members' eyes glaze over, you're talking about it too long and too hard at a club meeting. So keep it in small bites. Steve, what would you suggest?
Well, when you're giving to the Rotary Foundation, there are really only two groups there that you really need to be thinking about. One is what's called the annual fund, which means that's the money that you donate. It gets invested by Rotary. It comes back to the district 3 years later as district designated funds. So that's an important part of the Rotary Foundation. Polio Plus is actually a part of the Rotary Foundation as well. It's just that it's directed all to solving this polio problem around the world. And so those are the two major things you need to be thinking about with the Rotary Foundation. It's either annual fund or it's Polio Plus. And they both go to the Rotary Foundation. They're both tax deductible. They're just two different parts of the same Rotary Foundation. If you have your own club foundation, you do need to make sure your members understand the difference between the club foundation and Rotary Foundation, because there's a lot of people that don't seem to get that. I know it's a problem in our club as well. And so just make sure that they know that the local foundation has members of your own club are the ones who are the trustees and who are managing that. And make sure they know who those people are and how that money is going to be used locally, so that when they make that donation, they're able to make the distinction between the two. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you for both of you. That's really helpful. Like all the buckets and breaking it out. I like, Julie, I really like the idea of like not trying to throw everything at them at once. And just being able to wrap my head around all the different buckets too.
And I would like to mention is that the annual fund, that's the one, Cedar, that comes back to us every third year in grants. And you all do grants. So that's the one to kind of focus on to make sure you're at your per capita giving, to make sure you still qualify for grants.
Okay, thank you.
The more money our members donate to the annual fund, the more we get back 3 years later as district designated funds, which as Kelly said, are the ones that we have our district grant committee. That's where they are able to get money for matching grants and for grants for your club.
I would encourage you all, if you haven't gone to the Rotary Learning Center, and there is a segment in there, there's a chapter, if you will, on the Rotary Foundation and giving. And that does a beautiful job of breaking it all out, helping it become clearer for you. And I would encourage you to offer it up to your members as well, because members are also eligible to go into the Learning Center and go in and find the foundation piece, and then it breaks it out so that you can find what you're looking for, and then go through that chapter. And it goes through in a very nice way, very explanatory, gives lots of examples, kind of gives you little quizzes along the way so you make sure that you've learned it and have a better handle on it. But I would encourage you to encourage your club members to do that as well, because sometimes in the quiet of your own office, at your desk, going through the Rotary Learning Center, it becomes clearer, and material sort of sinks in and sticks.
I just add a couple more things about how to donate to the Rotary Foundation. There are multiple ways for that to happen. There's actually on the Rotary.org website, you can go in at any time and make a one-time donation, and it walks you through. There's a button called Donate. You just click on that and it walks you through the whole process. You can do it on your credit card. You can mail them a check. You can do lots of other things. But that's one way of doing it. A lot of other clubs collect from their members for contributions to the Rotary Foundation. And so the club treasurer accumulates that money. And then once a quarter, that's usually how our club does it. Once a quarter, they send that money into the Rotary Foundation and attribute it to certain members of the club. You can also have members go in and do what's called Rotary Direct, so that you give Rotary, Rotary.org, you give them your credit card number, and they can, on whatever basis, like once a month, once a quarter, once a year, whatever you decide you want, you can have them simply take that contribution from your credit card, and you'll get billed by your credit card company for that. But Rotary gets the immediate value for it. Rotary Direct is really a very convenient way of doing this. Avoids a lot of money transfers between yourself and your club, and then the club treasurer to the Rotary Foundation. It just happens automatically. Does that make sense?
And one of the things that I always found helpful when talking about giving in Rotary is to talk about the work that our dollars do. And that seems to inspire and kind of get people excited about giving. And then they can figure out what piece of the Rotary process is right for them. For some people, it's an annual gift. For some people, it's Rotary Direct, and they give every month out of their checking account. For other people, maybe it is a major gift, or maybe it's creating the opportunity to, for me, for instance, I have it set up so that I have it as part of a insurance policy, and I pay the premium on the insurance policy once a year, and it just goes toward this life insurance policy. And then when I pass, that money, the value of that, and it's a whole life insurance policy, that will go then to Rotary. So there's a number of different ways that people, depending on their situations, might be attractive to them, even though there's some attraction to making sure that the annual gifts and your DDF and all of that has an immediate effect and immediate attraction for a lot of members. But for some, maybe not. Maybe theirs is a more long-term, looking at the horizon type of giving. And Rotary can offer value and opportunities and ideas for that as well. So I didn't ever try to make it one size fits all, because and I'm a fundraiser. I was a professional fundraiser for 40 years. And I really believe that giving has to come from your heart, but it also has to come from what works best for you and your family. So, other questions? Lee, hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. Sorry, I was struggling a little bit with my Zoom. It was just being cranky. So, but I'm glad I'm here, and looking forward to maybe getting some more feedback on pets that you know, what we could improve on. I think that'd be great too. So hopefully that's what part of this meeting's about.
Cynthia, what about you? What questions can we answer for you? There you go.
I don't really have any questions, I don't think. I guess I kind of feel like I learn by doing more. So, you know, when it comes time to fill out the grant applications and all that, since I'm just the nominee, I feel like I'm lucky to have some more time. But you know, once it comes time to really sit down and look at the goal sheet and grant applications and all that, that I will pick up more that way. You know, it's just hard in a group situation for me to gather all that. So I don't really have any questions. But you know, I did enjoy the breakout sessions at the pets. I felt like the whole day we spent with the facilitators was kind of a long day, but yet, you know, so much overwhelming information. So, you know, it's good to have that. But, and so I guess I haven't really digested all of it yet, you know, but I didn't really have any burning questions.
Okay. Well, and like you said, you're a pen, so you've got another year to work with all of this, sort it all out, work with your PE, your president listen to what your club members are wanting, what your board is needing. You've got a little bit of time. Plus, please know that anybody on the DG line is happy to help you, as the facilitators, I'm sure, told you in your sessions. They're available for you to contact either by phone or by email and answer those questions for you. And so don't just think that once PETS was over with, you can't have contact with those folks again, because you can. And they're very, knowledgeable, happy to help you in any way. And many of them offer kind of biannual contact with you and just check in at the end of 6 months and say, how are you doing? What's making sense? What's not making sense? And if that doesn't happen, reach out to somebody in the district, either on the DG line or one of your facilitators that you had at PETS, or really anybody at PETS. They'll be more than happy to help you. Because we realize that sometimes, and I know this is true for me, sometimes I need to have all this information kind of be sifted and float to the top. And then you have those aha moments. Oh, okay, now I know what she was talking about, or, oh, I see how that works. And sometimes that just takes a little time. And that happens to everybody. Jack, what about you? You said you're
a concern that I have in Estes Park, because of the cost of living in Estes, we don't have a lot of young people in the club. I'm not sure. I have a sense that the morning group may have more young people than the noon group. And it's a very friendly group, and they have their thing they do each year with the duck race, and they spend a lot of energy on that and raise a lot of money. But I want to access some historical information so that I don't tread on anyone's toes. But I haven't heard anything about a sister club in a long time. I don't know if we still have one. I don't know when the last time was we did a project where we went out of country or even out of state. And I think those are important things that a club should be looking at. But I want to move from a knowledge base, and so that I don't stir the pot in an inappropriate way.
I understand. Well, I'm not sure I have all that good historical information. Lee, I'm going to throw this into your arena, because you've been working most recently with the Estes Park clubs, because that's where the district conference was. Any thoughts, any ideas on either sister clubs or, that kind of relationship with out of state or out of the country clubs?
Jack, I think it's a good comment, and I think there's. I was going to say I think there's some reasons, but I really don't know for sure. I have been up to the Estes Park clubs a number of times. I've got several friends there, but it's, and I think I'm guessing you're from the noon club.
Yes,
and
that's correct.
I know the morning club has some younger members, and it could be, first thing in the morning, you can go to the meeting, and then you've got the rest of the day to go to work.
Right.
And I know that when I first joined Rotary, that's what I did. I joined a breakfast club.
Yep.
And I could go to the meeting, and then I could go to work.
Yep.
Now, is that going to be, a good resolution? I don't know. Sister clubs, I think, would be important. And I think that there's, and I'm trying to think of who this is. I can go through my contact list, Jack, and try to get back to you. But there is somebody that I met not only at some of the trainings that I've gone through, but we've actually done some work together. And they have a sister club. Boy, I feel like if I would have studied up a little bit, I think I could have given you some information. But if Julie's got your email address, or if you can send it to me in the chat, I can look up this information and send it to you, because there was some really good ideas and connections that this club did to get a sister club. And I'd be glad to share that with you. The other thing I would say is there's, when people come up for the Autumn Gold, and I know that you guys do a really good job of getting out there in the park and having a lot of vendors and stuff. And I know that you have a Rotary booth, but you might want to think about maybe making that Rotary booth stand out a little bit more. Put a big sign on there, and maybe give out some enticements for folks to come and talk to you, and send out invitations to other clubs, the ones in Loveland, the ones in Fort Collins. Say, come up here.
I'll have
And
to see what they've planned, because again, we've always done it that way before.
yeah. That's a hard one to get away from. But
it
if
is.
your club can send out invitations to some of the clubs down the hill and say, come up here, and if you can create that relationship with them, sister club with one of the clubs in Fort Collins, or one of the clubs in Loveland or Greeley, might not be a hard thing to do once you start making those connections.
Yep.
That's the only thing off the top of my head that I can think of. Julie, now that I've stumbled along, has a light gone off for you that you might have some ideas for Jack?
No, not really, but I've been taking notes, and I'm gonna do some research on this and see what some of my classmates and others might have come up with. Steve, what about you? Anything?
Well, I was just going to ask you, you mentioned a sister club, but do you know, has your club ever had a sister club? Is it just something that kind of faded away and you need to get it going again? Or is this something, a new idea that you have?
No, when I came to Estes Park in 2006, they had a relationship with a club in Latin America. That's all that I remember. It was a sister club, and they, now that I think about it, I think I maybe know who I can talk to and see what the status of that is. But the fact that I haven't heard anything about it makes me wonder if that relationship sort of died a natural death, which sometimes those things need to die a natural death.
Jack, I'm wondering if that relationship was a grant situation, and that's why you haven't heard from them. The grant was completed, the project was completed, and maybe that is how it happily ended, as opposed to a social kind of, sharing of information, visit type sister relationship. It seems to me like there might be several ways that this relationship might have gone, and maybe the grant piece is one that had it kind of
that
going.
sounds certainly plausible. A little bit, a quick 5-cent background where I'm coming from. So I'm a clergyman for many years. There's a word of scripture, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's the King James Version. Or the New Jerusalem Bible says, where there is no vision, the people get out of hand. And I think that's true for any organization. Organization needs some kind of vision that they can grab hold of. This is who we are. This is what we want to do. Let's go do it. That's where I'm coming from.
I can just give you an example for the Steamboat Club. We've been going down to a small club in Mexico, just on the border with Douglas, Arizona.
Yeah.
We've been going down there for 13 years, and it's just a small club of about 15 members, but they're very active in their community. We usually take about 10 Rotarians and we take 10 kids in the Interact program and go down there and do over the Martin Luther King weekend. And we do work with them down there. We go to orphanages, we go to senior citizens centers. They've had various kinds of projects for us to work on. Some of them are hands-on, you know, painting the community center and painting in a school and things like that. And those are really, as you say, they're really beneficial for both clubs. And if you don't have something like that going, you could certainly pursue that idea and try to get your club interested in doing something like that.
Yep. That's what I'm looking for.
Good.
And Jack, while Steve was talking about that, I remembered when I was up there at Autumn Gold with the shelter box tent last summer. There was a company. Well, it really wasn't a company. It was a startup. Two guys were up there. They had a water filtration system at Autumn Gold, and I talked to Jean a little bit about that, and to see if that was something that maybe her club would be interested in. I've got a card, which is what I was kind of looking around for.
I think that same person made a presentation at our club.
So
very
it
recently.
Yeah, because I talked to Jean a little bit about that and said, how about if you guys hook up with somebody and start that? Is that a possibility that your club might be interested in that?
Well, it sparked my interest because if it's the same person he talked about, and I think they were talking about a club in Cheyenne that had worked in installing some of these traps, sewer traps, to collect cigarette butts, of all things, and talked about the benefit of upstream above the town versus downstream, the quality of the fish. And they discovered that when they got rid of the cigarette butts, that the quality of the fish downstream improved.
Fish, humans, and it's all the same.
So anyhow, we have a lot of traffic along our main street and a lot of sewers, and that'd be another thing that Ann Slack, who's the incoming president, and I've talked about looking at. Yeah. So anyhow, there's lots to do. Always is. Yeah.
Aaron, what about you? Any questions for us today?
No, I think that I really appreciate the time in the pets, and I think that both the breakout sessions were absolutely incredible. I think one of our biggest things was in our small group. We were lucky enough to have Laverne, who had almost 40 years of Rotary experience. So there's a lot of working with her in terms of asking kind of the minute questions. I think one of the negatives or the issues with pets that I would have loved to see was, we're a small club, is to be grouped with small clubs like in Vail, in Steamboat, or Park City that have similar type dynamics. I think the one issue we had when we were working with like a small club from Colorado, in rural Colorado, they have a lot different concerns or a lot different issues with their club than we do. I think one of the things that we have with our club is that we have a lot of members who are already busy with a lot of other foundations in the valley. You know, Jackson Hole is, you know, many of our Rotary members are already on 5 or 6 different community boards or other organizations. So when we start talking about doing a grant program or doing a project, like, we always kind of run into a gap stop of how can we pull more time, just because our members are restricted on that or have less bandwidth. And I think that, like, that's a big challenge that we would all love to do a international grant or a regional grant program. It's just always, hey, we've only got 3 or 4 members that are available on this Saturday. Even if we book out, you know, 4 or 5 weeks ahead of time, it's just the nature of our group and to kind of try and cross those boundaries to get them more engaged, just because whether it's the summer season is so short and then, something comes up and it's a big powder day, everybody's out skiing and then they're exhausted in the evening. Like there's just a different group dynamic of being a small group. And even though we're monsters in terms of fundraising, it's again also some fundraising fatigue just because we have it's a big goal in town at the end of September. We've got a big event and there's 200 plus foundations and everybody's, a dollar here, a dollar there. It really starts to stretch you thin sometimes for it. So I think those are our concerns or issues that going in as a new president, I think it's just a fundamental goal of getting more involvement at a lot of different levels instead of just the pop-ins and going in, because we only have 10, 11 members. When we do want to write a grant, when we do want to do certain things, it's somebody taking on that project and pushing forward. And then the support is less because we don't have, a board of 5 or 6 members per, the 5 or 6 different groups. So I think that there's a lot of challenges in the immediate future of trying to get our members more engaged.
So help me to understand. I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
At PET, you would have preferred to have been in larger club-sized groups, or
Yeah.
did it work for you to be with the smaller clubs?
So the small clubs were great. It's just the uniqueness of the Valley of Jackson Hole, similar to Estes Park. We just have some unique challenges where, like, if there's a way to group us up, as I said, with a different ski town or a different resort town, for it, because we have some monster fundraisers, but like we include alcohol and we do the Teton County Fair. When you get a small board group member from Utah, like we were kind of getting a dirty look saying, "Oh yeah, we don't touch alcohol. We would never do that." And that's not a characterization, but that's what happened. Or like we were with a really nice gentleman from like Platte, Nebraska, and they did 5 or 6 events and they were only able to raise like 5 or 6,000. And so like they're helping with the school dances and like their main focus was Interact. Whereas like our small group, unfortunately, we don't have Interact. And so I know that the lunchtime group has that. So there's different nuances, as I said, with having 2 groups in a resort town. But what I'm trying to say is if there's a way to match us up with like an Aspen, a Steamboat, a Vail, or even a Park City, a Bozeman, Montana, or Big Sky, to find those, because I found when I did find those people, we had more events that were similar, whether they were ski induced or summer resort, because we are a tourist trap. And so that we try to collect off that in terms of some of the events that we do. And there is more shared ideas in those like breakoffs when I found those people than it was sometimes in the small groups.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate that.
Well, Aaron, sounds like we should have a conversation. Let's talk between Steamboat and Jackson Hole, because we've got a lot of similarities. We don't have 200 nonprofits, but we've got at least 50. So, but we still probably have a lot to talk about. We should have this kind of a side conversation, maybe with a couple of members from each of our clubs, and talk about how we handle that.
Of course, would love that, obviously.
That'd be great.
And, like I had breakfast 2 of the mornings with one of your members, and he works out at the airport for it. And it was exactly that, in terms of sharing ideas and kind of playing off those ideas, just because there's the different nuances of our valleys for it.
Yeah, very true. Okay, well, let's make a note of that and try to get back together again sometime.
Jody, we haven't heard from you. How was pets for you as a new AG? Jody?
Julie, I'm gonna have to sign off here. I've got another Zoom meeting, as I think I told you, so I'm gonna need to go unless there's any other questions for me, but thanks everybody for joining the call today, and I hope you got something out of this.
And
Thanks
if you
for your
have,
help.
if you have lingering questions, please don't hesitate to email us or connect with us in some way. We're always available to you, not just at pets and not just at a post-pet session, but anytime. So, and thanks, Steve. Thanks for taking the time to join us. I know that this is a busy afternoon for you. So
No
thanks.
problem. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Any other questions that I can help with? And Lee's on the call too. She's a past district governor. So, man, if she doesn't have the answer, we're up a creek.
Now Julie's putting me on the spot.
I am.
Actually, I appreciate listening to this as the PETS chair. There's a lot of information I can hand off to Chris for next year. And I think that's going to be really important to learn, from what you've shared with us. That's why I was so adamant with Julie about I wanted to be on this call, because it was I want to know what were the stinky socks in the room, that we can get rid of, because we want this. Pets needs to be an opportunity for you all to really get some good ideas and get excited about being in the position that you're coming up with, or that's coming up for you, and or to help one of your colleagues that are soon going to be a president, a club president. So, or even a district governor. Don't ever hesitate to come up to a district governor and say, hey, I've got an idea about this, or have you ever thought about doing this? That was probably the most eye-opening and really gratifying part for me was the club visits and talking to the club presidents, their board, club members, getting a lot of feedback. I think that's critical for anybody in Rotary that wants to continue on within the leadership structure, is to go out and start talking to people and get their ideas, get their feedback. It's really eye-opening, and I think it makes our district stronger if we're able to leverage ideas from each other. So please don't ever hesitate to talk to a district governor or a past district governor. We're a lot more calm when we're a past district governor than when we're a governor.
And don't hesitate to, give us the negatives. We're thick-skinned, and like Lee says, we're ready, willing, and able to learn. But we can't change things if we don't know what's hanging out there and what is a problem for our PENs and our PEs and our AGs. We can't change it if we don't know about it. So please don't hesitate to let us know in the things that aren't working, or that were just a dismal failure, or that you think could be done differently. And Aaron brought up a really good point about how different all of our clubs are, and our regions are so different. Not just Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, but the size of the club, the community, the valleys that all of these clubs work within, we're all so unique and so different. And that's an important thing. We're trying to work with that, but sometimes we don't quite get it right. And I think Aaron made a good point about how we can link up smaller clubs, but a club in Jackson is different than a club in, say, Western Nebraska. So yeah, so please let us know. And unless there's any other questions, I'm going to let you get started making dinner, or go finish your day, or go pick up kids, or whatever it is that you have to go do today. So
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for letting me join, Julie. I appreciate it. And I would encourage all of you what Julie is talking about. I think what helps us really grow is look outside of 5440. You've got colleagues that are in other districts. Reach out to them and talk about doing a joint project. And it doesn't have to be somebody that's clear on the West Coast. You can reach out to somebody in Utah or, you know, anywhere that's somewhat close, but don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, I've got an idea. Would one of your clubs like to participate in this? Because we would like to work together with a club outside of our district. That's, I had that opportunity to do that once, and it was probably the best Rotary experience I've ever had. So I would encourage all of you to do that. So thanks, Julie, for letting me zoom in with you guys.
You could make it work, and sorry it was so difficult. I know I'm challenged too, and that's why I'm on the phone, but that's all right. It all worked out. We're all here, and Kelly's recorded it all, so we're all good. And with that, I'll say goodbye and thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.